And let's take a look at Legal Mindset's video. I said we were going to look at this. Legal Mindset put out a Fast Facts today in regards to the whole Antifa thing. And wait, the headline says that Donald Trump needs to fire Pam Bondi. So this is in regards to I believe the whole declaration of Antifa as a terrorist organization. So let's jump in and take a look. Alistair, I didn't watch his most recent video because I embroiled myself so much with that. I needed to take a break from it. All of this stuff regarding Charlie Kirk and everything. I embroiled myself into it so much, like at the beginning of the week. Oh, you were okay. Oh, fair. Okay, Elsa, you were responding to someone else. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Pam Bondi needs to be fired in order for America to get what it needs done, including the designation of Antifa as a terrorist organization, the prosecution of that, and making sure our rights, specifically our free speech rights, are not taken away as we go into this endeavor of getting rid of violent extremists. Of course, I'm Esquire, American attorney, and this Legal Mindset. We let you be your own judge. And I'm going to, kind of take an even-keeled stance here. I've got something for Pam Bondi, who's obviously part of the administration. She's obviously a Republican, but I've also got a lot for Antifa and all those that think Antifa can't be designated a terrorist organization. I got news for you. They can, and there is a good way to do that. So we're going to get into that today.
Okay, Andrew, you have my attention. How can Antifa be designated as a terrorist organization? Please educate me
on the Legal Mindset. So let's get into it. And I want to actually start with a video. And this is Pam Bondi talking about speech and hate speech.
Good question, Zach. Good question.
The Kate Miller podcast. And this is so important because remember, this is our AG. This is our Attorney General. This is the person who is going to be behind not only taking these violent groups.
And Meaty, yes, I'm wondering if that's going to come into play with what Andrew is talking about, the Online Safety Act. I'm wondering if it may or may not come into play with his explanation here.
General, this is the person who is going to be behind not only taking these violent groups down and prosecuting them, but also behind drafting the laws that get passed and doing all sorts of other things. And understand, her incompetence, her stupidity will be reflected in law, which is a massive risk. So let's take a watch at what she says here and how this is utterly incoherent.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people, so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Oh, fuck. Hang on, I wish I could zoom in so I could see if there's a little mustache above her lip there. Holy fuck. Yeah, she just basically said First Amendment's out the window if we don't like what you have to say. That is what she just said. She just said if we don't like what you have to say, First Amendment is out the window. Because as much as you don't like it, nonviolent hate speech is protected by the First Amendment. You know, if you as an individual want to say that Black people are animals and shouldn't be allowed and should be sent back to their native homeland, if you want to say that homosexuals are an abomination from God and should all be locked in insane asylums, that's hate speech, and that's protected by the First Amendment. If you want to say rednecks are a bunch of dumb sister fucking assholes that can't be trusted that can't be trusted to think properly and shouldn't be allowed to vote, well, that's hate speech too. That's protected by all of that is protected by the First Amendment. You may not like it, but it is protected. But this is actually protected by the First Amendment. One guy, she's the U.S. attorney. She's what was it? U.S. attorney, attorney general. That's who she is, and she doesn't fucking know the Constitution. Attorney general. Okay, couldn't remember. For the life of me, I couldn't remember which one. Yeah, she's the attorney general of the United States, and she doesn't know the fucking Constitution. Let that fucking sink in. Everything she just said is a violation of the Constitution. Anybody scared yet in the U.S.? That this bitch wants to literally take away your freedom of speech? By saying if you say something that we classify as hate speech, you're gonna go to prison? Anybody in the U.S. scared yet?
I
know it
So
won't,
this
Gonzi.
is the most
I know
incoherent
it
thing
won't.
ever.
No, I should clarify this. If dumbass Bondi were to try to do this, if this dumb fucking blonde woman would try to do this, the Supreme Court would bitch slap her back to the womb. The moment she tried to do this, someone would file a suit against it. It would go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court would take one look at her and go, "Are you fucking stupid? Have you ever read the Constitution in your entire fucking life?" And they will just immediately go, "Yeah, go fuck yourself, tear this shit up, throw it into the fires of Mount Doom, you're a moron." So yeah, it will never get past the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will strike it down in 2.5 seconds. But it's showcasing what a fucking moron she is, that she would even try this in the first place.
anything, and that's across the aisle.
So this is the most incoherent thing ever, and it's something that harkens to the UK in hate speech, right? Hate speech as it's
Drac, not that easily. The level of what's the word I'm looking for? Oh fuck, I've lost the word. Basically, the government needs to jump through a million fucking hoops in order to change the Constitution. Like a million fucking hoops. They've been trying to do like constitutional amendments or change constitutional amendments. Several of them, they've been trying to do it for literal decades. No, it's the amount of governance that needs to happen with everybody being on board with it ain't happening. It just ain't happening. It just won't happen.
Designated in the United States, and I'll pull up the slide here where my good friend Nate the lawyer talks about this, where we have speech, we have free speech, right? And by and large,
Uh-huh.
across the board, hate speech is
Yep.
free speech. You are allowed to have hateful ideas and opinions. That is
Yep.
free speech. That is actually allowed, right?
Oh God, and he's actually bringing up that case. Oh God. Yeah. It was decided in court that when the village of Skokie tried to shut down the Nazi party when they were preaching hate speech, it went to court, and the court ruled that the Nazi party can actually spew out hateful rhetoric, nonviolent hateful rhetoric, but they can spew out absolutely racist rhetoric without issue. This actually happened in the village of Skokie, Illinois. And in fact, side tangent, I know you're shocked. If any of you guys have seen the Blues Brothers, it kind of talks about that. It, like, very briefly, if any of you seen Blues Brothers, there's a point where Jake and Elwood are stuck in traffic because there's a Nazi party rally in And it's, I don't know if they were in Skokie at the time, but it was definitely referenced in Blues Brothers. This particular case. Yeah. I fucking hate Illinois Nazis. And before they proceed to drive at them and force them all to go jumping into the Skokie River. So, little side tangent, just, little pop culture side tangent that has its roots in actual legal history.
There's very, very limited exceptions. And if we want to talk about what's permissible and non-permissible, the real mistake Pam Bondi makes here is she doesn't know the difference between what is allowed and what's not. And what she is confusing is hate speech and hate crimes. She doesn't even know the difference. It's something you should know the difference about. If you're the Attorney General, the top person in the United States, but we all know, and it's very clear, she is a pure political appointee. In fact, it may just be Trump likes blondes and wanted a blonde in the office, right? Who knows?
No, Andrew, we have to get this right. Trump likes hot blondes. He likes hot, sexy blondes to be appointees. Because even though Pam Bondi is disgusting and a fucking moron that should never have had the job in the first place, she's hot. Pam Bondi is hot, and so now we know how she got the job. We're point blank.
That's right. But she is not the right
meaning
person
correct.
if she cannot make this basic legal distinction that even people in law school, a 1L in law school knows this, 1L being a first-year law student, by the way. A 1L knows that these are, this is permissible speech. Things like ID.
For fuck's sake, non-law students know this. I'm not a law student, and I fucking know this. Redden, I'm not going to say she's a DEI hire. She is a Trump boner hire. Trump hired her because she's hot and she got his dick hard. And so he said, you're hired. I think that's it. I literally think that's it. Yeah, I mean, it could, but whether or not she's hot for you as an individual could be debatable. The fact is, she is hot. I freely admit she is hot. She got Trump's dick hard, so he hired her on. That's it. That's why she got hired on. She, that's all there is. Oh, and before I forget, because I forgot to do before, Cody, thank you for the suppy.
He has opinions, debate, dissent, and even hate speech, even hateful things. If you say something like, I hate this person, that's okay. You're allowed to say that. What you're not allowed to do is a hate crime. A hate crime is an idea coupled with an act, right? There's a criminal act. So you're going out and doing something criminal and you're doing it with a hateful idea, behind that, right? So those are coupled together, but just speech alone is not enough. And once again, Bondi doesn't understand this concept. What she should be focusing on, and which any incompetent AG out there, any competent, any knowledgeable AG would focus on what's important here, the 4 areas of impermissible speech.
Yeah.
And if you hear me talking about this, I am always talking about one of these 4 areas. These 4 areas are the areas that right now we need to go after. Law enforcement, the president, everybody, businesses, we all need to target these 4 areas. This is what we need to focus fire on, because in the legal realm, we are in the clear in nuking these areas. And if we clear these out, America becomes so much better. We don't have to go into taking our rights away. We don't have to expand the law. Just focus on what the law already makes illegal. Let's look at.
And that's what I said the other day. We don't need more laws. We have no need of new laws. We have more than enough laws on the books right now to cover pretty much everything. Now, as new things come out, either like through invention or what have you, there may need to be changes. But in terms of this, in terms of speech, freedom of speech, hate speech, or hate crimes being 2 different things, we already have more than enough laws to work. The problem is that the laws are not being enforced. Jack, in some respects, updating of existing laws might not even be necessary. It might not even be necessary to update existing laws. The problem is the laws are not being enforced, or they're being enforced unequally. That's what it comes down to. The enforcement of the laws need to start taking place. You don't need fucking new ones. You need to enforce the existing ones. The only reason to enact new laws is to go after specific targets that they want to shut down. That would be the reason to enact these new laws, specifically in the context of speech. That's why they want to enact new laws, so they can go after people that they don't like to shut them down, because now they can say, look, there's a law for it. And again, what Pam Bumblefuck is talking about will never pass the Supreme, it probably won't even get past the fucking lower courts. Like, if somebody sues it, the lower court, like the lowest, like, county court, will strike this the fuck down if she tries to push it through. The moment she does, even fucking Cook County would strike this down. And it'll get struck down all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they'll strike it down too. Because it is not constitutional. It's a violation of constitutional law.
That incitement, so speech that directly incites imminent lawless action or criminal activity. This is a lot of the speech online. We talk about Hassan's speech, other speech online that's hateful, directed towards violence. That's incitement, right? You're saying, hey, go out there and delete these people, go out there and hurt these people. That's incitement, right? Then you've got harassment, creating a hostile environment. Well, if people are creating a hostile environment where, people perhaps of a certain gender or race, perhaps white men, don't feel comfortable, that can be harassment, right? So we can go focus on that. We can also focus on defamation. Defamation is not legal, and we can even add and strengthen the penalties on defamation. That's perfectly fine as well. We can do that. And also we can tackle true threats. And true threats is an act.
Nimons, don't insult Barbie like that. I have no particular love for Barbie, but don't insult Barbie like that. Barbie would make a better AG than fucking Pam Butt-Ass. Okay? Nimons, you must now bow before the Barbie throne, kiss the plastic feet, and offer offer retribution to Barbie in the form of dressing up in Barbie's pretty princess gown. I will await the photos.
Actual threat of violence, saying, I'm going to go hurt this person, right? So all of these are okay. And trust and believe that if we actually take action on a lot of this stuff, which we've been sleeping on,
there may have been, Alistair,
the radical left. The radical left has gotten a pass on this for a long time. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's both sides. And fair enough. If somebody on the right does this, they should be prosecuted as well. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
But the radical left has gotten.
Yeah. And that's something that I think is getting lost, is that when we talk about this, about these things that are not covered by freedom of speech, this applies to everybody. 100% it does. And like, this often gets lost, like so many fucking things that are getting lost today. These laws is not like, it's not only the leftists that are doing it. It's the leftists, or whatever the fuck Hassan is, are just in the news lately because of current events and the resurfaced videos of him literally calling for death and basically screaming for his community to go kill someone. It's all focused on that. This applies to literally everybody. It doesn't matter what your political ideology is. It doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is. It doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter what your ethnicity is. Literally everyone in the United States of America can be arrested if they perform one of these 4 actions in regards to speech. The law does not discriminate who can be arrested based upon any of those factors if you violate it. That is something very important that needs to be remembered. This is not a left thing. This is not a right thing. This is a legal thing.
A pass on a lot of these categories on defamation, harassment, incitement, and true threats. And if you just crack down on these, that is more than enough. That is plenty sufficient to sweep up a lot of people. And in fact, if you do what Bondi says, you're actually doing a hard left move, because you're actually, by adopting hate speech laws, going to the far left, going to a sort of the UK Orwellian, this is the approved speech, this is the not approved speech. We don't want to go there. That's not a place America wants to go. So, and by the way, going down.
Yeah, this passing, I've been hearing that argument that social media platforms need to lose their section 230 protections. That may be something that may be getting discussed, is to revoke section 230 protections from social media platforms. That may be coming. That is certainly something that might be getting talked about in the halls of Congress right now, and we're just not hearing about it.
Down the road that Bondi wants us to go down, that could
Moose.
end up getting overturned in the Supreme Court. And the last thing we want to do is get this stuff reversed, right? That's the last thing that we would want to do, because it would end up, it would really end up setting the whole movement back. The other thing is, there's something coming up called the Smith-Mundt Act. And this is something that's got a lot of traction, right? So this is the Media Accountability Act. And it's not formally drafted yet. People are just talking about drafting it. They're talking about naming it the Charlie Kirk Act, although I believe Charlie Kirk might be appalled by the way it's actually executed.
Yeah.
And this would impose fines of up to 35% of the company value on media. And many people say it's a precursor to a social credit score system, right? Or essentially a company credit score, a company score. And what they're going to target is things like bigot, racist, fascist, and perhaps stuff like Nazi and white supremacists. Now,
no. Oh, I hope this doesn't go through. Oh God, no. I really fucking hope this is bad. This is a bad fucking law right here. Absolutely. No. This should not be done. It annoys the living fuck out of me when you get people that use these words that call you this simply because you disagree with them. Yeah, this annoys the fuck out of me when people do this, but no. This is trying to tamp down on freedom of speech. And yeah, you're right, Atsunashi. It's like, these are examples, but they can add in whatever they want, whatever flavor of the fucking weak language it is. But more importantly, it is stymieing free speech. It is. It is annoying as fuck when somebody calls you a bigot, a racist, a fascist, a Nazi, a white supremacist, simply because you disagree with them. But I will still defend somebody's right to say that under freedom of speech. I will call them a fucking moron, and I'll tell them, okay, we have nothing further to discuss because you're a fucking idiot. Absolutely. But I will still defend their right to say that under freedom of speech, because that's what it's all about. It's about you having the right to be a moron and say the dumbest fucking shit imaginable so people can laugh at you. So, yeah, and the spacing, yeah, this is another one that very likely, if it does pass through, the Supreme Court will bitch slap it. If the Smith-Mundt Act does go through, chances are, as soon as it does, a suit will be filed, and the Supreme Court will say, no, you morons, this violates the First Amendment. Shh. Go throw this into the fire of Mount Doom with the other fucking thing that Pam Butthead said.
I don't have as much of a problem with something like Nazi or white supremacist, so long as you create an objective definition saying, okay, well, it is per se defamation to call somebody a Nazi unless they are either a formal member of the National Socialist Party of Germany between the era of 1920s roundabout to 1945. Right? So if they're a formal member, you can call them a Nazi. Or if they self-declare as a Nazi, that's okay. That's fine. But otherwise, if you call somebody a Nazi, that is per se defamation and they have damages. Okay, that might be reasonable, right? Because that would hurt someone's reputation. You can't just going around calling people a Nazi. It's way overused on the internet. It's way overused everywhere in media. And it needs to stop. Same thing with white supremacists. If you are openly a white supremacist, you declare yourself as one, or you're a member of a group which publicly, as its platform, espouses white supremacy, then sure, then you can call somebody that. But otherwise, defamation, right? Now, something like bigot, racist, fascist, those are a little bit harder, right? So maybe you could say, okay, if you're part of something that openly espouses those views, maybe, but otherwise it's very difficult to say that.
Well, and not to mention these terms, hell, all of these terms right now have not been used in an accurate method for a long time. They have been thrown around willy-nilly, used in completely inaccurate methods for so many years now that, like I've said, they've lost meaning. These words basically in a social context have lost their meaning. Once upon a time, calling someone one of these and more actually had people sitting up, paying attention, going, wait a minute, what the fuck's going on here? And now it has literally been, these are now replacements for, you disagree with me, therefore I think you need to disappear. That's it. That's what these words now mean. And the trouble with that is because they have been so bastardized in terms of their usage, we're not seeing slow-moving fascism, slow-moving supremacy like in the UK because they got so overused. I imagine that there were many people in the UK, or at least several people in the UK, that tried to sound the alarm about about the UK government becoming an authoritarian regime to silence speech of people of its citizens, and people were probably trying to call it out for years, but nobody listened to them because the words have now been turned into a fucking comma or a you don't agree with me, so you are this word that once actually meant something significant, but now just means you disagree with me, so I hate you.
Right? So how they do that, how they define that, it's going to be a little bit more tricky, right? Something with an objective criteria like white supremacy or Nazi, that might be a little more clear than bigot, right? Because bigot, what people can view as quote unquote bigoted or racist, varies widely. So what one person calls racist is another person saying, okay, that's just somebody making a joke, or that's harmless, etc. That's humor, right? So that's going to be a little bit more difficult. So I'm my kind of problem here is I don't want Pam Bondi drafting this. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. She's going to screw this up entirely. This requires so much legal nuance that I have zero faith that this woman can do this, or the team even under her, because she's going to be directing it down a bad path, and they're just going to follow her like blind gnomes to, or lemmings right over the cliff.
There
right?
you go, Andros. Wait for that.
Lemmings actually go over cliffs, but it's a metaphor, okay? So I now want to shift gears with this, and actually it still goes.
Hey, here we
Pam
go.
Bondi,
this is what we want to hear.
Is going to need to execute this, and I have zero faith. But there's this declaration of Antifa as a terrorist group. So the other day, I actually prepared this whole slide deck and everything before, but I ended up redoing it. Trump said he would 100% label Antifa a terrorist group, and it turns out he went and made a tweet. Now everybody is going out here and saying this is an official declaration. It's official declaration. It isn't, guys. This is not an executive order.
Is that what this is about? People are reading his Truth Social message as an official presidential proclamation? Is that really what this is about? Hey, for fuck's sake! Yes, it's literally, I don't even know if it's a tweet. It's on his Truth Social platform, so I don't even know what the fuck he calls messages on there. This is what has everybody's panties in a twist? That he put out a post on Truth Social saying, I'm designating Antifa terrorist organization. God, bring back good teachers. We made good teachers again. Make teachers good educators again. For the love of all that is holy. It was a rough moment.
Yes, Tommy Robinson, the man who organized the Unite the Kingdom rally, warned of it. He was the one who exposed the grooming gang and was locked up in prison by the government for it to silence him.
There we go, Heckle. There we go. Yeah, there's your perfect example. Yeah, what we bring that, good teachers. Take some of the money that you're shelling out to your government needs to stop, like, to take some of that money that they're shelling out to their private government contractors to get kickbacks and start giving it to the fucking teachers, for the love of God. Like, let teachers actually try and educate people, so we actually have a smart populace instead of a bunch of dumb fucks that believe a fucking tweet is the same as a goddamn executive order. Please. Like, yeah, Andrea, yeah. You know what he also has a habit of doing? He also has a habit of putting something out on Truth Social, acting like he's going to turn it into legislation or an executive order, and then backtracking on it a couple days later. He has a habit of doing that too. The fact is, this is not an executive order. This is not legislation. This is not even an official presidential proclamation. But people are too stupid to fucking know that.
Order. There has not been an executive order that I've seen yet. I need to see the language. So this is just him tweeting. Now, let's talk about how you would do it right. Once again, I don't think Pam Bondi understands this. I think Pam Bondi has no idea how to do this. So let me explain it. And maybe somebody can pass this to her team, or, the person that succeeds her, if she's hopefully fired, and get this done the right way. First of all, Trump can unilaterally direct law enforcement to prosecute. So Trump can unilaterally say, okay, FBI, go after Antifa. That's fine. They can do, that's just a directive. That's giving them, the executive is saying, hey, it is your priority to prosecute Antifa. They do that tomorrow. They can bring RICO charges against Antifa. That's completely possible. So that the president can do unilaterally. Now let's talk about these designations, because this is where people get legally stupid, and this is where Pam Bondi has no idea about this. And we're going to talk about domestic versus foreign. So here's the thing. The domestic terrorist organization designation does not exist. There's no federal statute on this. There's no way to officially designate a domestic terrorist group. It does not exist. So the only way you could try to do this is by executive order or by an act of Congress. But those are super flawed processes, because first of all, if you do an executive order, it's immediately going to be blocked by an activist judge. And by activist, I mean someone that's opposed to Trump and the administration, just like with all other executive orders. And honestly, I'm being real with you guys. It may not stand up to judicial review. So as it's blocked and appealed, even if that gets appealed, to the next level quickly, which, by the way, this could take years to appeal, it may get destroyed at the appellate level or at the Supreme Court level. So I have no promise, or there's no guarantee this would work if it's done domestically. If it's done by an act of Congress, so help us God, it's going to be a slow process. It's going to be stalled. It's going to be potentially compromised, overboard, pork barrel politics. There's going to be something else slipped in there. Somehow our rights are going to be infringed on as part of this. An act of Congress would be a giant mistake. What they can do right away, and what a smart attorney general, once again, not Pam Bondi, a smart attorney general would designate a foreign terrorist organization, FTO designation, because yes, we already have an established method of designation for foreign terrorist organizations, under the Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act. This occurs within the Department of State, right? It is unlikely to be blocked by judicial review because it must be challenged within 30 days, and there's a very limited scope of review. All the court can review is whether there was, quote unquote, substantial support, which just means, hey, is there some proof right in the record? And is this not arbitrary, capricious, abuse of discretion, or otherwise illegal? And anybody who knows the law in the Supreme Court knows that arbitrary and capricious is almost always passed by the government. They almost never find anything as arbitrary and capricious. It's very, very difficult. So, okay, as long as you have some proof, that's good. And honestly, this is the craziest thing. No designation, not one single designation that's ever been made has been overturned. That's powerful, guys. That's really powerful.
Well, okay.
Compare that to executive orders. Executive orders get tossed out left and right. It's more likely than not that a executive order will be tossed out, right? So, and you're not getting any interference from Congress on this. And the criteria, and let me get through these criteria here. The group must be foreign, right? Engage in terrorism, and threaten U.S. nationals, national security formulation. So let's go about group must be foreign. So their origin is in Germany. I cannot pronounce this correctly, even though I try to I speak a little German, but I always get this wrong. Antifasciste, fasciste, and like I always get that one wrong. Fascistes. Yeah. Action.
He
Right?
sounds like he's trying to speak Italian.
Right? That's the origin, right? Or originated in Germany. So it's got a foreign origin, right? That's part of it. And it has many foreign members. And the other thing too is this is huge. Foreigners such as Canadians, and once again, remember, Canada is a foreign country. The federally funded, the state-funded Canada Anti-Hate Network is aiding Antifa. So we
Canadian Anti-Hate Network? I've never even heard of this. What is the Canadian Anti-Hate Network? I've never once heard of this. I have no fucking clue what this is. Granted, I'm not a political activist. I try not to delve into politics. Like, I have no fucking clue what the hell this is. I have no fucking idea. Like, seriously. I don't even know what this is. Has aided Antifa-aligned groups. Okay. So, but by his definition, you'd be classifying the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, not Antifa, because it says it aided Antifa-aligned groups. So even this example wouldn't work because you're going after you're classifying the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, not Antifa. Maybe you're going on the route of because they've given aid to Antifa. I don't fucking know. I don't know.
We literally have a foreign government, and once again, Canada is very much engaged in radical left activism. I'm sorry. I know a lot of Canadians. I love a lot of Canadians. I love Canadian friends. I love you guys. But the government of Canada is very much sanctioning a lot of extreme leftist beliefs, right?
That I'll have to agree with. That, unfortunately, as much as it pains me, I have to agree. I have to agree with it. The Canadian government has been the liberals have been turning the country to shit. The liberals have been turning Canada to shit. We've seen it with the previous open door immigration and basically the dogmatic you must support LGBT to the effect of that they tried to make that small town of Emo. They tried to force them to fly the LGBT flag. And yeah, unfortunately, I have to agree with it. Granted, you guys know I don't like it. I don't agree with a fucking thing that the government's been doing on this one. But yeah, it is happening, unfortunately. Now, I have a tiny bit of hope that since Pierre Poilievre became the majority leader for the Conservative Party, I saw a few brief things on YouTube today of him in the House of Commons that was basically where he was like bitch slapping the Liberals in the House of Commons. So that gives me a little bit of hope that he might, maybe he might be able to spearhead a turnaround on this. Fingers crossed. I hope he does. I hope he's able to. But as of right now, yeah, the government is a bunch of the government is extremely liberal, and they're doing some absolute shit right now. Well, yeah, Typo, he's been conservative leader for years. He got ousted when he ran for prime minister. Now he's back, and I'd say he might make another run for it. Wait, no wonder a YouTuber shadow banned a VTuber I follow from Canada. Oh, a YTuber I follow from Canada. She's a vet. Wait, Busby, what's the correlation there? I don't understand what the correlation is. What was this YTuber you follow from Canada highly critical of the government? Is that? Oh, Polyev. Yeah, sorry, Busby. Sorry, it does not roll. You gotta remember, I'm American. French names don't roll off the tongue for me very well. She is conservative. Okay. Yeah, Pierre Polyev. That's yeah. Sorry, I mispronounced. I mispronounced the name. It's the French names are difficult for me. Sorry.
Especially what will be considered extreme leftist by
I
American
Dragon
standards, right?
Trucker.
So
Oh, Dragon Trucker. You missed everything. It's too late. You missed everything. Shame. You report to the mods for the shame spanking, Dragon Trucker. Mods! Spank Dragon Trucker's ass. In shame for being late. Right now. 100 whacks. With the big paddle.
that shows that there is a strong foreign tie here. So we can, I believe, meet this element. And at the very minimum, you could say, okay, the foreign elements of Antifa, right? Those can be designated if you want to try to split those off. But I think you could do the whole thing because it's very loose and decentralized, right? And that's similar to some cartels, to some mafias, etc. And that's a good comparison because we're going to show you that's exactly the type of groups that have been designated as terrorist organizations this year. So engaged in terrorism, there's been multiple incidents of terrorism and violence that Antifa has done across the U.S. This is easy to prove. Second, and then lastly, threatens U.S. nationals, national security, or foreign relations. Honestly, it has all three. It damages all three. But if you wanted to do the easy one, national security is a layup. It's very clear. So there's no really debate there. So let's look at the foreign terrorist organization, shall we? If we look at what those are and what's been designated, you see mostly cartels and gangs from MS-13 down there on the bottom, all the way up to Los Choneros and Los Lobos, which were designated this month. Those are gangs, and those were designated in September. So everything that Trump has done, except for, a couple here, like the Balochistan Liberation Army, which is a Pakistani and breakaway, thing. Most of these are, and some of the Middle Eastern ones, etc. But most of these are cartels. Sinaloa cartel, etc. So if you think about how cartels operate, cartels have domestic elements. They have people in MS-13 and Los Lobos, Los Llaneros that are in the United States.
Okay, and what Andrew's going on, I'm wondering if he's going to address this, because the one thing I could think of is if they try to go after, like if they try to like do what Andrew's saying by going after foreign elements that have given aid to Antifa, how hard would it be for Antifa to simply change their name? They could literally just rename, like, people that like to say I am Antifa. How hard would it be for them to simply change their name? To change what they call themselves? Because right now, the only basis of like trying to stop Antifa is by going after like these quote unquote external things. Even with the name change designation, the designation will still stay. Well, on the Theron entity, sure, Sketty, but I don't know. Maybe you'll address this. I don't know. It's something that popped into my head. Like, okay, they can just change what they call themselves, and then would that be a way to kind of maybe sidestep it a little bit? I don't know.
And those are successfully held up. Those haven't been overturned. So they're very much comparable. And if you look at the actual language on how they designated these, and you say, international cartels constitute a national security threat beyond that posed by traditional organized crime. So you could say Antifa.
And yes, Zep, to your question, like, does anybody call themselves Antifa? Yes, they do. There have been I've seen and heard of protests that occurred where they would either carry or wear something that would proclaim themselves to be Antifa. They do. Yeah, they will actually like broadcast that they are quote unquote Antifa.
Constitutes a national security threat beyond that opposed by a traditional organized crime. That would stand up. The convergence between themselves and a range of extra hemispheric actors, from designated foreign terrorist organizations to antagonistic foreign governments. This is true too. Canada. We now have proof that Canada is an antagonistic foreign government. Trudeau is literally behind this. He's literally helping them, right?
Well, Trudeau was. Trudeau is not in government anymore, so he was behind it. Now it's Mark Carney, which the sooner his ass gets out, the better.
complex adaptive systems, characteristic of entities engaged in insurgency and asymmetric warfare. Absolutely. And infiltration into foreign governments across the Western Hemisphere. Once again, sorry, our northern neighbors, but obviously you've got some people in the woodshed up there, and there's people in Europe, etc., other places where Antifa has infiltrated.
Yeah, and they need to get taken out behind the woodshed with a leather strap to get a whooping. I will say that.
So the consequences, and this is huge, this is massive. If we are able to get this designation, if we're able to do this, we can make it a crime to knowingly provide material support and resources to a designated FTO, which means even if you're an American.
Busby, as far as do I think Trudeau is the son of Castro? I don't care. Legitimately, I don't give a fuck. I could give less than a fuck about Trudeau. I give less than a fuck about Carney. They're all assholes. That's literally all I know. They're a bunch of assholes that have just that are doing everything possible to destroy what was once a wonderful country, and that's all I need to know about.
If you're helping Antifa, you're done. So in that way, in this way, even if we just designate the foreign elements, Antifa within the United States that is helping outside the United States, we get all of Antifa. We get all of Antifa through this foreign FTO designation. This is the way to go legally because you get everybody with this. Next, if you represent that FTO, you're inadmissible to the U.S. or you can be deported. So all of these activists, which are being flown into the United States, which are coming in here to assist, etc., deport them all, ban them all. That will really cut down on the numbers in these demonstrations. And last, this is the most important. U.S. financial institutions processing or controlling any assets may block all transactions. So all of those foreign assets from the foreign organizations clearly blocked. The domestic ones can probably be blocked too, because once again, they're supporting the foreign elements. So you're blocking a ton of assets. You're freezing their money. You're stopping them from working. And this would absolutely shut down a lot of the most extreme violent action in the United States. Once again, a prerequisite to this happening is a competent AG that understands these differences. It's difficult. Most people on Twitter right now do not understand this. And guys, you're going to need to share this out. You're going to need to share this information. It's super important because most people do not understand this. And listen to me. If we do not do this right, if we do not do this correctly, surgically, we will lose our rights. We need to clean up America and get the violent people out. But we don't need to do it with such haste and zeal that we give up the rights that we fought for, that we've spent hundreds of years fighting for, right? That Western civilization has given thousands of years of moving towards these rights, towards the perfection of these rights as seen in the United States. Guys, it's very important. So make sure you like the video, you comment, you share it out, because this needs to get out. Until next time, guys, take care.
Okay, there we go. Some information. I had no idea that dumbass was trying to that dumbass was trying to basically just violate everyone's First Amendment rights. I had no idea about that. So that's good to fucking know. And good night, Stefan. Ugh. And by the way, I do want to point this out. I do feel compelled to point this out. The majority of normal, sane people in Canada don't like what the government's doing here. They don't agree with it. And they think the same way a lot of Americans think. So, like, bear in mind, the people predominantly don't think the way the government does. The people, for the most part, hate what the government is doing. That's why you're seeing what's happening with Alberta and its neighboring provinces. That's why you're seeing renewed interest in Quebec saying bye-bye. It's just bear in mind, the people of Canada, at least the ones that are not like immigrants that are hell-bent on destroying the country, don't like what's happening and agrees with what what people in the US are saying when they criticize Canada. They agree with it. They do. And I just hope that we can see a change. Again, on September 5th, Canada held a major protest about everything the government's been doing, about the illegal and massive legal migration that has been destroying the country, the governmental overreach. The people are hating what the government's doing here too. So just remember, for people in America that want to criticize Canada, just remember, the government is doing this and the people don't want it. So that's just something to keep in mind.